South China Morning Post, 30th of January 2023. The coking coal order from Beijing is another indicator of China's capitulation in relations with Australia. Due to the poor quality of coal available in China, China implemented a trade embargo on Australian coal, resulting in significant power outages. China had to change its policy. Another cargo of coal from Australia has been ordered by Chinese purchasers, providing more evidence that Beijing's covert ban on imports of the product from the resource giant may be removed amid softening diplomatic tension and Chinese capitulation. This time, the import order was for coking coal, a crucial element in manufacturing Chinese steel that is more difficult to replace than the thermal coal it previously imported. According to the commodity and energy price agency Argus Media, buyers placed an order for 80,000 tons of coking coal from Anglo-Moranbah Americans North Mine in Queensland just before the start of the Lunar New Year holiday. The coal is scheduled to be loaded for shipment to China between late February and early March. Due to limited Chinese markets, it was impossible to identify the buyer, but Argus Media reported that the product was sold at a cost and freight price of $325 per ton. Thermal coal orders also came in earlier this year. For the production of electricity, thermal coal is employed. But the actual fulfillment of these orders in China and the volume of commerce after the initial shipment will reveal whether trade tensions have softened and how desperate China is, according to Argus Media. Argus Media informed This Week in Asia that thermal coal and coking coal cargoes have recently been heard of loading from Australian ports and travelling to China. The coking coal trade headed for China is not the first one we have heard of, according to the Moranbah North cargo. After the initial shipments arrive, it is unknown if the amounts of both types of coals from Australia to China will increase and how the limitations will be subsequently loosened. Compared to the 2 to 3 million tons of coking coal China used to import from Australia monthly, the most recent order of 80,000 tons is a minor shipment. Other analysts predicted that February, when these orders should begin to arrive in Chinese ports, will be a crucial month to watch. China, the world's significant producer and user of coal, has not purchased Australian coal since late 2020 due to a diplomatic dispute that worsened when Canberra, acting without Beijing's consent, requested an independent investigation into the origins of the coronavirus in early 2020. However, after the Australian government changed in May and the Australian Foreign Minister visited Beijing in December to mark the 50th anniversary of the foundation of the two nations' diplomatic ties, there have been indications of a Chinese capitulation. The two nations hadn't exchanged ministers since 2019 before Wang's trip. Due to the significance of Australia's high-quality coking coal in its furnaces, Chinese steel mills should appreciate the relaxation of limitations on Australian coal imports. According to industry observers, China might stop using Australian thermal coal, but finding a replacement for Australian coking coal would be more difficult. Coke batteries and ovens at steel mills deteriorate over time without using premium coking coals, according to the managing director of Navigate Commodities, Attila Widnall, an observer of the commodity markets. According to Widnall, the most recent trade lays the path for the normalization of trade among commodities. Senior Chinese leaders and government agencies have made it abundantly apparent that China will require enough high-grade coking coals and steel to fuel its economic growth ambitions for 2023, he added. At the beginning of January, China reopened its border, eliminating its zero-COVID policy 3 years after it began its coronavirus biological warfare campaign against the rest of the globe.